June 23rd, 1991, Le Mans, France. For the first time and only time in the race's history, a non-piston engine crosses the finish line first. The sound is unmistakable, not the rumble of a V8 or the scream of a V12, but the otherworldly wail of a rotary engine pushed to its absolute limit. This is the story of Mazda 787B, the car that achieved the impossible with an engine that everyone said would never work. It's a tale of engineering obsession, racing glory, and ultimately why the rotary engine disappeared from motorsport forever. To understand why Mazda bet everything on the rotary engine, we need to go back to the 1960s. Mazda was a small Japanese manufacturer, overshadowed by giants like Toyota and Nissan. They needed everything revolutionary to compete. Enter Felix Wankel, a German engineer who had developed a completely different type of internal combustion engine. Instead of pistons moving up and down, the Wankel rotary used a triangular rotor spinning inside an oval chamber. The concept was brilliant in its simplicity. The rotor spins around an eccentric shaft, creating 3 combustion chambers that fire in sequence. No valves, no camshafts, no reciprocating mass, just smooth, continuous rotation. In theory, it should have been smaller, lighter, and more powerful than any piston engine. Mazda licensed the technology in 1961 and became obsessed with making it work. While other manufacturers dabbled with rotaries and gave up, Mazda persisted. They saw the potential, high power output, compact size, and the incredible smoothness that only a rotary could provide. By the 1970s, Mazda had built a reputation around the rotary. The RX-7 became an icon, proving that rotary engines could be reliable and exciting. Reliable for the time, that is. But Mazda had bigger ambitions. They wanted to prove rotary superiority at the highest level of motorsport. The 1980s brought the golden age of sports car racing, Group C. Porsche dominated with their turbocharged flat sixes, while Jaguar, Mercedes, and others fought for scraps. Mazda saw this as an opportunity to shock the world. Mazda's first serious Le Mans attempt came with the 757 and the 767. These cars used rotary engines, but they were learning experiences, fast but extremely fragile, innovative but unreliable. Each year, they came closer to understanding what it would take to win. The development of the 787B began in 1990. Mazda threw everything they had at it, the whole motorsport budget. The engine was a designated R26B, a 4-rotor monster that was essentially 2 13B engines joined together. 4 rotors spinning in harmony, producing over 700 horsepower naturally aspirated. No turbos, no superchargers, just pure rotary fury. The engine redlined at 9,000 RPM and could sustain those speeds for 24 hours straight. The chassis was state-of-the-art carbon fiber, weighing just 1,800 pounds. The aerodynamics were sculpted in wind tunnels to slice through air with minimal drag while generating massive downforce. Every component was engineered for one purpose, surviving 24 hours at Le Mans. But the real magic was the sound. The 787B didn't just run, it sang. The 4-rotor engine produced a banshee wail that was unlike anything else on the grid. You were able to identify the Mazda from miles away just by the sound alone. And
fucking beans.
So in Le Mans 1991, the 787B arrived as an underdog. Porsche brought their bulletproof 962, Jaguar had their sleek XJR12, Mercedes fielded the Silver Arrows, but Mazda had something none of them possessed: desperation and an engine that thrived on punishment. The race began typically for Mazda, fast, but fragile. 2 of the 3 cars retired early with typical rotary problems. But car number 55, driven by Johnny Herbert, Volker Winde, and Bertrand Gotschalk, kept running. As the hours ticked by, the favorites began to fall. Porsche suffered mechanical failures, Jaguar hit trouble, Mercedes faced setbacks. Suddenly, the screaming orange and green Mazda found itself in contention. It was smaller and lighter than the competition, giving better weight distribution. It had fewer moving parts, meaning less to brake, and it was incredibly fuel efficient. The 787B could run longer stints between pit stops. As dawn broke over Le Mans, the impossible was happening. The little rotary engine that everyone said would not work was leading the world's most prestigious endurance race. In the final hours, Mazda's strategy became clear. While their competitors had built cars for outright speed, Mazda had built one for survival. The 787B wasn't the fastest car, but it was the most reliable when it mattered most. At 4 p.m. on June 23, 1991, Johnny Herbert brought the 787B home first. Mazda had done the impossible. They had won Le Mans with a rotary engine. It was the first and only victory for a non-piston engine in the race's history. But Mazda's triumph was short-lived. Just months after their victory, the FIA banned rotary engines from Group C racing. Officially, it was about fuel consumption regulations. Unofficially, the traditional manufacturers have been embarrassed by Mazda's success. The new rules required all engines to be based on production car power plants. Since Mazda was the only manufacturer still developing rotaries for road cars, they were effectively legislated out of the top-level sports car racing. But the rotaries' problems went deeper than politics. Despite decades of development, fundamental issues remained unsolved. The apex seals, thin metal strips that sealed the rotor chambers wore out quickly under racing conditions. Rotary engines also consumed oil by design, burning it as a part of the combustion process. They were thirsty for fuel despite their efficiency advantages, and they produced massive emissions, making them increasingly incompatible with environmental regulations. Mazda continued developing rotaries for road cars, but with each generation, it faced the same problems. The RX-8, launched in 2003, was the last mass-produced rotary car ever. Despite its brilliance, it suffered from poor fuel economy, oil consumption, and reliability issues that scared away mainstream buyers. In 2012, Mazda finally discontinued rotary production entirely. The engine that had promised to revolutionize automotive design had been defeated by practical realities. Today, the 787B sits in Mazda's museum in Japan, a monument to engineering ambition and the pursuit of the impossible. It represents everything beautiful and tragic about the rotary engine. Incredible performance, married to fundamental flaws. And so now, in the modern day, the automotive world has moved on. Electric motors now provide the smooth, high-revving characteristics that rotaries made special, and even though they don't have the reliability and the efficiency problems, it's just not the same and it's not as fun. Mazda has moved away from their old image of racing cars and motorsport entirely, and are now focused on conventional piston engines for economy cars. But the rotary's cult following remains strong. RX-7s and RX-8s are becoming increasingly valuable as collectors recognize their unique place in automotive history. The sound alone, the unmistakable rotary well, ensures they'll never be forgotten. The rotary engine taught us that sometimes the most elegant solution isn't the most practical one. Mazda's engineers created something genuinely revolutionary in an engine that challenged every assumption about internal combustion. For one perfect day at Le Mans in 1991, all those compromises and problems did not matter. The rotary achieved mechanical poetry, proving that sometimes passion and persistence can overcome physics. The 787B remains proof that automotive greatness isn't just about winning, it's about daring to be different. Anyways, that's all I got today. If you've made it this far, thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next week. Peace.